The morning sunlight dripped through the blinds like honey, soft and warm across the kitchen counter. I could smell cinnamon toast before I even opened my eyes. Saturdays were always ours, mine and the kids. "Mom, can we finish the birthday video today?" My son, Eli, called from the hallway, his voice half excitement, half morning rasp. I smiled into my pillow. "You bet, baby. We just need Grandma to bring her camera again." My mom, Patricia, had always been the memory keeper. Every event, every breakfast, every giggle had to be documented, cataloged, and if she liked how it looked, shared online. I never loved that part, but she was good with the kids. Or at least I thought she was. By the time I walked into the kitchen, Eli and his little sister, Nora, were already dressed, matching shirts, faces sticky with syrup. My husband, Jason, was making pancakes, the radio humming quietly. And there, by the counter, stood my mom, holding her phone horizontally, filming like always. "Smile, everyone. Look at me," she chirped. Jason chuckled, flipping a pancake. "Pat, they're eating, give them a minute." "Oh, hush," she said with a teasing wave. "These moments don't come back." I didn't argue. It was harmless, right? A grandma making memories. The camera light blinked red. She zoomed in on Eli's freckled face, then on me, then on Nora, who was singing off-key to a cartoon jingle. Everything was perfectly normal, beautiful even. But something in my mom's tone was different that morning. She wasn't just recording. She was directing. "Eli," she said softly, "you know you look just like your real dad, right?" I froze mid-sip of coffee. Jason looked up. Eli blinked, confused. "What?" he said, smiling uncertainly. "Oh, you know," she laughed lightly. "Your real dad. Not Jason." Jason's spatula hit the floor. The air thinned. My stomach dropped so fast it hurt. I forced a shaky laugh. "Mom, what are you doing?" She waved a hand, still filming. "Just teasing. Don't be so uptight." But the kids weren't laughing. Nora looked at me with wide, searching eyes. Eli's smile cracked. "Mom," he whispered. I reached for the phone. "Stop filming." Patricia stepped back, grip tightening. "Oh, don't be dramatic." I was joking. "Look, they're fine." But they weren't. The room had gone silent, except for the sizzling pan. I turned off the stove, heart pounding. "Give me the phone." "God, you're so sensitive," she muttered, slipping it into her purse. I knelt beside Eli, brushing his hair from his forehead. "Baby, she was just joking, okay? Daddy is your daddy." His eyes shimmered. Why would Grandma say that? I couldn't answer. Patricia sighed, picking up her bag. "Fine, I'll go. You can't even take a joke anymore." And just like that, she left. The door clicked behind her. Jason crouched beside me, still stunned. "What the hell was that?" I shook my head. "I don't know. But she's never said anything like that before." The camera's tiny red light blinked one more time before dying. That's when I realized she never turned it off. The house stayed quiet long after she left. Even the sound of traffic outside seemed to pause, as if the world was waiting for me to figure out what to say. Jason stood at the sink, hands gripping the counter. "You think she meant it?" he asked finally. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say she'd just had a weird morning, maybe she didn't sleep, maybe she was trying to be funny. But I'd seen her eyes through that camera lens, focused, deliberate, testing my reaction. "I don't know," I whispered. "I just don't know." Eli had retreated to his room, and Nora was drawing on the floor, her crayon pressing too hard, breaking the tip every few seconds. I knelt beside her. "You okay, sweetheart?" She nodded, eyes on her paper. "Grandma said I have a different daddy." My throat closed. "No, baby. Grandma was wrong. Daddy is your daddy, okay?" She frowned, looking up at me. Then why did she film it? The question hit harder than anything Patricia had said. Jason ran a hand through his hair, muttering, "I'll call her. I'll make her delete it." But when he called, she didn't answer. Not that day or the next. I sent a few texts, nothing harsh, just questions. "Why would you say that?" "The kids are confused. Please talk to me." All I got back was a single message the following evening. You're overreacting again. They're fine. Don't make this a big deal. Overreacting. She always used that word. By Monday, the tension had settled into my bones like a dull ache. I went through my day pretending everything was normal, packing lunches, school drop-offs, work calls, but every time I looked at Eli, I saw the question still in his eyes. When I picked him up from school, his teacher, Ms. Reynolds, pulled me aside. Is everything okay at home? Eli seemed upset during family tree time. My chest went tight. What did he say? Just that he wasn't sure who his dad was anymore, she said gently. I reassured him, but I thought you should know. I forced a smile, nodding, my throat burning. Thank you. I'll talk to him. That night, dinner felt hollow. Jason tried to lighten the mood with jokes, but Eli just pushed his food around. Nora kept glancing between us, confused. After they went to bed, Jason sat beside me on the couch, the TV playing quietly. You need to talk to her again, he said. Face to face. I will. I promised, though my voice was barely above a whisper. But she'll twist it. She always does. He looked at me then, really looked. You've let her get away with this kind of stuff before, haven't you? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. He already knew. Later that night, I opened my phone to rewatch the video because some part of me needed to understand. But it was gone. Deleted from her shared folder. Except the thumbnail preview was still visible in my recent cloud cache. Eli's face frozen mid-shock, my mother's voice saying, You know you look just like your real dad. That image sat in my chest like a stone. I called her one more time, just after midnight. She picked up on the second ring, voice groggy. Mom, what did you do with that video? Oh, for God's sake, you're still on that, she sighed. It's gone. Deleted. I told you it was a joke. Then why did you upload it? A pause. A faint rustle. Then click. She hung up. I stared at my reflection in the dark phone screen, my own face dimly lit by the clock's glow. Behind me, the half-eaten birthday cake still sat on the counter, frosting melting into sugar pools. Somewhere in the house, a child turned in their sleep and whispered, Mom? I didn't answer. I just sat there and let the silence press against my ribs until I could barely breathe. I grew up believing my mother's version of love was the only kind that existed, loud, conditional, and filmed. When I was 10, Patricia bought her first camcorder. She used to record everything, me brushing my hair, eating breakfast, crying after losing a spelling bee. I thought that was normal, that love meant being watched. It wasn't until much later that I realized she didn't keep those recordings for memories. She kept them for control. Every story in our family came from her lens. If I got an A, she took credit for being such a supportive mom. If I cried, she'd say, See? My daughter's too emotional. Just like me. If I disagreed, she'd sigh, You're so ungrateful after everything I've done. I can still picture the first time she humiliated me publicly. It was Christmas Eve, 15 years ago. I had just gotten engaged to Jason. Young, in love, proud. My mom stood up at the dinner table, glass of wine in hand, and toasted to us. Then she turned to Jason and said, laughing, You sure you want to marry her? She gets her temper from me. Everyone laughed. I laughed, too. That's what you did around Patricia. But later that night in the car, Jason asked, Why does she always do that? I didn't have an answer. When I had Eli, things got worse. Patricia decided motherhood gave her rights to my choices, my time, my privacy. She'd show up unannounced, rearrange my kitchen for efficiency, and post photos of the baby without asking. Once, she live-streamed his first bath because everyone deserves to see how adorable he is. I told her to stop. She cried for an hour. Then she said, You're taking away my joy. You've always been selfish. And somehow I apologized. That became the pattern. When Jason lost his job in 2018, she helped us by covering 1 month's mortgage, then told everyone at church that we couldn't manage our finances. When I got promoted, she posted my salary online by mistake. When Eli broke his arm, she uploaded a photo of him in the hospital bed with the caption, Pray for my brave little man. His mom's been through so much. I'd scroll through the comments, strangers sending hearts, friends pitying me, and feel sick. She didn't just want attention. She wanted to be the victim star. The final straw before all this came 2 years ago. We were at Nora's preschool recital. Patricia sat in the front row, camera ready. Halfway through the show, she stood up, actually stood, and whispered loudly, "Smile, Nora. Grandma's filming you." The teacher paused. The room went awkward, and my daughter looked small and embarrassed on stage. Afterward, I told Mom she'd crossed a line. She shrugged. "She'll thank me one day when she sees how cute she looked." And I believed, maybe stupidly, that she just didn't understand boundaries. That her generation thought public meant proud. But that day in my kitchen, when she told my kids they had a different father, I realized it was never about misunderstanding. It was about power. She wanted to watch me lose control. She wanted to capture it, to own the narrative again. Because if she said it first, if she filmed it, then she got to decide what was true. That night, after the birthday chaos, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone, looking for signs I'd missed. Every picture of her holding Eli had the same expression, not love, but pride. Like he was a trophy she'd won. A memory surfaced, one I hadn't thought of in years. I was 16. She caught me sneaking out to a school dance. She grounded me for a month, then told all her friends at book club that I'd gone wild. When I cried and said she embarrassed me, she filmed me sobbing, saying, "Smile for me, honey. Someday you'll thank me for keeping you accountable." She had done this my entire life, and I had spent my entire adulthood trying to pretend it was fine. Now, watching my children carry the same confusion I once had, the same mixture of love and fear, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't just angry. I was awake. A week passed before I heard from her again. I was on my lunch break at work, half listening to a meeting through earbuds, when my phone started vibrating on the desk. 5 missed calls. All from Samantha, my college friend who lived 2 states away. I texted. "In a meeting. Everything okay?" She replied almost instantly. "Ash, you need to see this. It's on Facebook." My stomach dropped. I opened the link. And there it was. My mother's voice echoing from a video that had already been shared thousands of times. The title read, "Grandma's Honest Talk. Kids Deserve to Know the Truth." I pressed play, hands trembling. Eli and Nora sat at our kitchen table, eyes wide. My mom's voice, soft and almost sweet, filled the speakers. "You know, sometimes mommies tell stories. Sometimes the man you call dad isn't really." I couldn't watch the rest. The clip was only 40 seconds long, but it felt like a lifetime. The post description said, "Just trying to help these kids find truth before it's too late." My mother's profile picture smiled back at me like a ghost. I could hear my boss still talking in the background, his voice tinny through the earbuds. I pulled them out, heart hammering. The room tilted. I called Jason. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, everything okay?" "She posted it," I said, voice shaking. "The video." "She posted it online." Silence. Then the sound of something slamming, a door, maybe his office wall.
"What? How?"
She said she deleted it. She lied. By the time I got home, Jason had already found the clip on 3 other platforms. Someone had screen recorded it. Comment sections were flooded with sympathy, confusion, judgment. Strangers debating my life. Those poor kids. That mom sounds shady. The grandma's just trying to do what's right. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my hands, every word digging deeper. Eli came in holding his tablet. "Mom, why are people talking about us online?" Jason took the tablet, his voice gentle. "Buddy, give that to me, okay?" Nora tugged at my sleeve. "Grandma said you're mad at her for telling the truth." The world around me went silent, like all sound had been sucked out. That night, I called my mother. Over and over. No answer. Finally, around midnight, she picked up. "Patricia?" I said, my voice low but steady. "Take it down."
"Now."
She sighed, as if I'd woken her. "You need to calm down. Everyone loves it. People are commenting how strong the kids are." Don't ruin this by being bitter. Don't ruin. I almost couldn't speak. You humiliated my children. You destroyed their trust. Oh, stop. You're being dramatic again. They'll forget about it. Kids bounce back. I felt my pulse in my ears, my throat tight enough to hurt. You crossed the line, Mom. This isn't love. This is…
What?
The truth? You're just embarrassed. I raised you better than this. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up before she could say another word. My hands were shaking so violently, I could barely hold the phone. Jason knelt beside me, his voice calm but fierce. We'll fix this. I promise. But she's done. No more chances. That was the moment it hit me, not as anger this time, but as clarity so sharp it burned. She wasn't going to stop. She enjoyed this. She didn't care who it hurt as long as people were watching. I sat there until dawn, staring at the blue glow of my screen, reading every cruel comment, every speculation about my marriage and family. Somewhere in that endless scroll of noise, something inside me hardened. I realized I'd spent my whole life giving her chances, and she'd spent hers filming the fallout. When the sun came up, I whispered the words that would change everything. Enough. By sunrise, my decision was set. For 34 years, my mother had controlled the story of my life, through guilt, through manipulation, through her carefully crafted performances for anyone who would listen. But not anymore. Jason was already awake when I walked into the kitchen. He'd made coffee but hadn't touched his. His eyes were red-rimmed from no sleep. I called my attorney, he said quietly. He's putting together a cease and desist. We'll start there. I nodded, clutching the mug he handed me. It's not just about the video anymore. She can't come near us, Jason. Not the kids, not the house, nothing. He reached across the table and took my hand. Then we do it the legal way. No more emotional begging. Just boundaries. The word felt strange on my tongue. Boundaries, something I'd never been allowed to have with her. Later that morning, I went to her house. Alone. The neighborhood looked the same as always. Quiet, trimmed lawns, curtains drawn just so. But stepping up her porch felt different this time. I wasn't the guilty daughter coming to apologize. I was the mother protecting her children. She opened the door with that familiar smile, the one that always came before the storm. Well, look who finally decided to show up. I didn't answer. I walked past her into the living room. The ring light was still set up in the corner, her tripod beside it. Still filming? I asked, my voice steady. She shrugged. People are asking for updates. You wouldn't believe how many messages I've gotten. Some even said I should start a podcast. My chest tightened. Do you even hear yourself? You've turned my life into content. Oh, Ashley, don't be so dramatic. It's awareness. People need to hear real stories. It's not your story to tell. The words came out sharper than I expected, echoing off the walls. She blinked, surprised for half a second, then smiled. You've always had a temper. That's what makes you interesting.
I felt something inside me snap.
You will delete every video with my family in it. You will stop contacting my kids. And if you ever film them again, I'll press charges. Her face hardened, the mask slipping. You'd really do that? To your own mother? Yes, I said. Because a real mother doesn't do what you did. She scoffed, looking me up and down like I was a stranger. You think anyone will believe you over me? I've been telling our story for years. People know who I am. I know, I said quietly. That's why I'm done letting you write it. I turned and left before she could say another word. Outside, the air hit my face like ice, but it felt clean.
Free.
When I got home, I sat the kids down. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told them that Grandma had done something very wrong, and that it wasn't their fault, or mine, that we couldn't see her for a while.
Nora started crying.
Eli hugged her. Jason wrapped his arms around all of us. We're going to be okay, he said. We've got each other. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. The next few days were chaos. Emails with lawyers, takedown requests, phone calls from family who'd seen the video. But I didn't waver. Every time someone tried to make me feel guilty, I repeated the same line. She crossed a boundary. I'm protecting my family. I even wrote it down and stuck it to the fridge so I wouldn't forget. Then came the text message. A simple one. From Mom. You'll regret this. You can't erase me. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over reply. Then I deleted her number. That night, after the kids went to bed, I walked outside to the porch. The air was cold, the kind that makes your breath visible. I could see our reflection in the kitchen window, me and Jason, sitting quietly, holding hands. I whispered, I think she finally knows I'm serious. He squeezed my hand. Good. But do you know how strong you are? I smiled faintly. I'm learning. Inside, my phone buzzed again. Notifications from lawyers confirming the video was being taken down across platforms. It wouldn't happen overnight, but the process had started. For once, I wasn't reacting. I was acting. For the first time in my life, my mother's voice wasn't louder than mine. And God, it felt incredible. For 2 weeks, there was silence. No calls. No messages. No sign of her online. I almost let myself believe it was over. That maybe, just maybe, she had taken the hint. But narcissists don't vanish. They regroup. It was a Friday morning when the storm came, literally and figuratively. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder cracked over the roof. And in that chaos, someone started pounding on the front door. Jason was at work. The kids were finishing breakfast. My stomach twisted even before I reached the door. Through the glass, I saw her. My mother. Soaked, wild-eyed, clutching her phone like a weapon. I froze. Mom. She shouted through the rain, voice sharp enough to cut the air. You ruined me, Ashley. You think I don't know what you did? My hand trembled on the doorknob. Please leave. You had my videos removed. My followers think I'm lying now. Do you know how that feels? You humiliated me. Behind me, Nora peeked from the hallway, eyes wide. I motioned for her to go upstairs. She didn't move. Mom's voice rose louder. You owe me an apology. You owe me my reputation back. I swallowed hard.
No, Mom.
You owe me peace. She slammed her palm against the door. You ungrateful brat. I raised you alone, gave you everything. You gave me trauma, I whispered. Her jaw dropped, like she'd been slapped. And then, just as I was about to close the door, she pulled out her phone and started recording again. See, she said, her voice instantly morphing into the calm, sweet tone she used for her audience. My daughter won't even let me see my grandkids. Look at this, she's so cold now. Fame really changes people. I felt my heart shatter, piece by piece. It wasn't about family anymore. It was about views. I took a deep breath, held the door halfway open, and said clearly, You are trespassing. I'm asking you to leave before I call the police. For a flicker of a second, I saw her panic. Real panic. Then it vanished under that fake camera smile. Go ahead, she sneered. Let everyone see how cruel you've become.
So I did.
I picked up my phone and started filming too. Not for social media, just for proof. Mom, I said evenly, you're not welcome here. You've been told not to contact me or my children.
Leave.
Now. Her voice cracked for the first time. Ashley, stop this. You're my daughter. No, I said softly. I'm your scapegoat. And I quit. Then I shut the door. The pounding started again, harder this time, until blue and red lights flashed through the rain-streaked window. A police cruiser pulled up. An officer stepped out, his uniform soaked instantly. He walked her to the curb, calm but firm. I couldn't hear their words, only her gesturing wildly, her mouth moving fast, performing again. A knock came at my door. The officer stood there now, hat dripping, expression patient. Ma'am, just checking you okay? Yes, I said, voice trembling but clear. She's my mother. I have a no-contact order in progress. She won't stop filming my kids. He nodded. We'll file a report today. She's been warned to stay away. You did the right thing. Behind me, Eli's small voice whispered, Mommy, is Grandma going to jail? I knelt down, brushing his hair back.
No, sweetheart.
She just needs time away to think about what she did. He nodded, still confused. She was yelling a lot. I know, I said softly, but yelling doesn't mean truth. That night, when the house was finally quiet, I replayed the moment in my head, how calm I'd been, how steady my voice stayed even when my body shook. For once, the chaos didn't own me. Jason came home late. He found me sitting on the couch, blanket around my shoulders, watching the rain slide down the glass. It's really over this time, he said, resting his hand on my shoulder. Maybe not, I said, exhaling. But I'm done participating in her chaos. He smiled faintly. That's the same thing as winning. The next morning, my lawyer called. The restraining order was officially approved. For the first time in years, I felt like I had walls around me that didn't trap me, but protected me. Nora and Eli drew a picture that afternoon. All of us in front of our house, the sun bright and big. Above it, in Nora's handwriting, she'd written, "Safe now." I taped it to the fridge, right beside my mantra. She crossed a boundary. I'm protecting my family. And every time I looked at it, I remembered that peace doesn't come from making everyone happy. It comes from saying enough. The morning after the confrontation, sunlight finally broke through the storm clouds. For the first time in weeks, the world outside didn't look gray or threatening. It looked washed clean. I made pancakes for the kids. Real ones from scratch, not the frozen kind I'd been relying on during the chaos. The smell of vanilla and butter filled the kitchen, and when Eli said, "These taste like weekends again," I had to turn away so he wouldn't see my tears. We were okay. Not perfect. Not untouched.
But okay.
Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. People started showing up. Not with gossip or pity, but with quiet, genuine kindness. Mrs. Harlan from next door brought over a loaf of banana bread. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "You looked tired lately. Thought you might need something sweet." A few hours later, Nora's teacher, Mrs. Dawson, dropped off a note with a small envelope taped to it. Inside was a grocery store gift card and a simple message. "You're doing a good job, Mom. Keep going." I stared at it for a long time, hands trembling. For years, I had believed help always came with a price, strings attached, guilt woven into kindness. But this was just love in small doses, quiet and unconditional. Jason saw me reading the note and smiled.
See?
The universe sends new people when the old ones leave. He was right. The next week, we started noticing the difference in our home. The air felt lighter. The kids laughed louder. Even the house itself seemed to breathe easier, as if it had been holding its breath for years. There were moments, of course, when guilt crept in. When I'd see a photo of Mom tucked somewhere or catch the faint scent of her perfume in an old jacket. I'd feel that tug, that instinct to call her, to fix things. But then I'd remember the video. The look on my children's faces. The betrayal that shattered something sacred. And I'd whisper the words that had become my armor. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're protection. Money had been tight since I'd taken unpaid leave from work to deal with the legal mess, but then something beautiful happened. Our local community center held a Mothers in Transition workshop, a program for single moms, divorced women, and anyone rebuilding family boundaries. Jason encouraged me to go, even though I wasn't technically single. "You need people who get it," he said. "People who've had to start over." He was right again. The workshop became my safe space. There were women who'd escaped controlling parents, friends who'd lost everything to online rumors, and mothers who'd rebuilt their families from ashes. I didn't have to explain why I was scared of phone notifications or why my hand shook every time I saw a camera lens pointed my way. They already knew. One afternoon, while we were doing a group journaling exercise, the leader, a calm woman named Rachel, said something that stayed with me. "We can't control who breaks us, but we can control who helps us heal." That night, I came home and wrote those words on a sticky note and placed it above the kitchen sink. It stayed there, right next to the drawing Nora had made, the one that said "Safe now." Slowly, Life began to fill with ordinary good things. Nora started painting again. Eli joined a small soccer team. Jason and I began having dinner together, without tension clouding the air. We even laughed about silly things, like how our dog, Milo, had decided to sleep on my folded laundry every night. And each time I caught myself feeling guilty for being happy, I reminded myself that joy wasn't betrayal. It was survival. A few weeks later, I was sorting mail when I found a small envelope with no return address. Inside was a printed quote. "Real family shows up when the world turns its back." No signature.
Just that.
I didn't need to know who sent it. That night, I looked around the living room, Jason helping Eli with homework, Nora sprawled on the rug painting stars, and realized I had a family. Maybe not the one I was born into, but the one I'd built through honesty, kindness, and courage. For once, the silence in the house wasn't tense or hollow. It was peaceful. And when I turned off the lights that night, I whispered the same thing I used to say to the kids when they were little. Only this time, I said it to myself.
You're safe now, Ashley.
You're safe. 3 months passed before I realized I'd stopped checking my phone every morning in dread. No new threats. No messages. No videos resurfacing. Just quiet. I'd forgotten what that kind of peace felt like. Our lives had slowly, beautifully shifted into something new. Mornings were no longer rushed chaos filled with tension. The kids got dressed to the sound of music instead of whispers about what grandma might do next. Jason and I had learned to savor small routines, brewing coffee side by side, making lunches together, laughing when Milo tried to steal toast from the counter. The house felt different too. Brighter. Lighter. One Saturday, Nora said, "Can we paint my room yellow?" "Yellow?" I laughed. "That's pretty bold." "Yeah," she said, grinning. "It's the color of happy." I bought 2 cans that same afternoon. We spent the weekend painting her walls, her dresser, even a small patch of ceiling she accidentally brushed with the roller. By Sunday evening, her room glowed like morning sunlight. Jason peeked in and said, "Looks like a whole new life in here." Nora twirled, her hands streaked with paint. "It is a new life." Her words stuck with me, because that's exactly what we were doing, rebuilding piece by piece in small, beautiful ways. I started going back to work part-time at the local design studio. It felt good to use my creativity again. My boss, Lila, was kind but firm, the sort of woman who believed in balance and boundaries. When I told her a bit about what had happened, she said quietly, "You don't have to apologize for protecting yourself. Ever." It was the kind of affirmation I didn't know I'd been craving. At home, Jason had been teaching the kids how to cook. Eli loved it. He said sautéing onions made him feel like a grown-up. I'd catch them all laughing together in the kitchen, and every time, I'd feel that tiny ache, the one that reminded me that this joy had once felt impossible. Every now and then, a message from an unknown account would pop up online. Short ones. "Your mom misses you." Or, "You can't hide forever." But I didn't respond. I forwarded them to my lawyer and blocked the accounts. The peace I'd fought for was sacred, and I wasn't about to let anyone take it away again. One evening in late August, we hosted our first real family dinner since everything happened. Jason's sister, Laura, brought her husband and kids. We grilled outside, the sun melting into the horizon, fireflies beginning to flicker in the yard. For the first time, laughter didn't feel like an act of defiance. It felt natural. After dinner, Laura hugged me tight. "You seem lighter," she said. I smiled. "I am. We all are." Later that night, after the kids went to bed, I sat out on the porch with Jason. We watched the stars in silence until he said, "You know, you could have broken from this. But instead, you built something stronger." "I didn't build it alone," I said, leaning my head on his shoulder. We sat there for a long time, listening to the quiet hum of summer. The cicadas, the distant laughter from next door, the soft creak of the porch swing, it all sounded like peace. The next morning, I started something new. I opened a blank journal and wrote the first entry. "Today, I choose peace over performance. Truth over approval. Love over guilt. Every morning after that, I added a new line. A reminder. A small victory. Nora noticed one day and asked, "Mom, is that your diary?" "Kind of," I said. "It's my new story." She smiled. "Then can I help write it too?" I laughed and handed her the pen. Always. That night, she added her own line in her wobbly handwriting. No more sad surprises. I kissed her forehead.
Deal.
And as I turned off the lights and tucked her in, the air in the room glowed faintly yellow, the color of happy. A full year later, everything looked different, brighter, calmer, whole. The chaos that once filled our lives had been replaced with quiet rituals: morning coffee with Jason before work, Sunday pancakes with the kids, evening walks when the air turned golden. It wasn't dramatic. It was ordinary, and that made it perfect. Our home had grown into its peace. The walls that once echoed with fear now carried laughter. There were new photos on the shelves: Nora holding her art award, Eli in his soccer uniform, all of us at the county fair, smiling for real this time. The old photos, the ones that hurt, had been packed away, not destroyed. I wasn't running from the past anymore. I was just choosing where it lived. It was early spring when Nora's 10th birthday rolled around. She wanted a picnic at the park with friends, nothing fancy, just balloons, sandwiches, and sunshine. That morning, as I spread out the blanket and arranged the food, I caught a flicker of déjà vu. The last time I'd set up a party like this, I'd been waiting for my mother to show up, full of hope and denial. Now, I wasn't waiting for anyone. Everyone who mattered was already here. Eli handed me a pink balloon and said, "This one's for Grandma, just to let go, not to invite her." I smiled. He understood more than I ever realized. When the party started, laughter filled the air, kids chasing bubbles, music from a small speaker, paper plates fluttering in the breeze. At one point, I sat back and just watched. Nora's hair caught the sunlight. Eli's sneakers kicked up dust. Jason winked at me from across the grass. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't haunted anymore. After the kids fell asleep that night, I took out my journal. The first page still read, "Today I choose peace over performance, truth over approval, love over guilt." I turned to a new page and began to write. It's been a year since I said no. A year since I stopped explaining myself to someone who never wanted to understand. I used to think healing meant forgiving her. Now I know it means forgiving myself for staying too long, for hoping too hard, for believing I could fix what was never mine to fix. The pen moved easily now, no shaking hands, no tears. Just clarity. A few weeks later, a letter came in the mail. Handwritten. From her. I hesitated before opening it, but curiosity won. Inside was a single page. "I hope you're well. I've been getting help. I won't reach out again unless you want me to. Mom." No manipulation. No guilt. Just words that sounded almost human. I folded the letter and placed it in the box with the old photos. Not out of bitterness, but peace. Some stories don't need closure. They just need quiet endings. That weekend, I painted the front door a soft blue, the color of calm. Nora helped, humming as she worked. When we finished, she stood back and said, "It looks like home now." I looked around, the light, the laughter, the life we'd built, and realized she was right. It was home. The kind you build yourself after walking through fire. The kind that doesn't need approval or performance, only love. The kind that stays. Home.